Hello students, I am Chef Sundar Srinivasan from AI SSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology, Pune. In this session of Food Safety Management Systems, we will be going through hazard analysis. This is a part of a previous session which is continued further. In our earlier session, we saw about primary steps to hazard analysis, in which we went through the food safety team, product characteristics, in which we saw raw materials, ingredients and product contact materials. We also went through characteristics of end products, and we touched upon preparing of flow chart, diagrams, process steps, and certain control measures. So moving ahead, it's a general point to start with. So the food safety team is required to conduct a hazard analysis to determine which hazards need to be controlled, the degree of control required to ensure food safety, and which combination of control measures is required. So basically, we are going to see on hazard analysis in short, and how these hazard analysis needs to be looked upon, what kind of control measures one has to put in place, and maybe more than one. It could be a combination of more than one that could be required at any stage. So moving ahead, so hazard identification and determination of acceptance levels. So the first part is going to speak about the food safety hazards that are reasonably expected to occur in relation to the type of product, type of process, and actual processing facilities. They shall be identified and recorded. So in your steps, in your stages, one should be able to know where and when the hazard could occur. Now how this identification shall be done, we'll see that just a moment. And once this is noted down, and which stage also one has to identify that this hazard could come into place. So the identification shall be based upon the preliminary information and data collected according to the preliminary steps. So basically, you could have prior information in hand about any product that is going to come, whether it already has certain hazard in it or not. Whether you're procuring from a supplier might also inform that there is a certain hazard level present or not present, and if not present, you need to certify the same. So at the preliminary step only you can come to know about it. Next, also with experience, over a period of time, with experience, one can tell about what kind of hazard can be expected at what particular stage. Also, external information, including to the extent possible historical data. Basically, this epidemiological and other historical data is where something is going to be known previously, known to have been a part of the hazard, could be become part into the chain and could be responsible to create a reaction or a chain of reactions. This information also could be present with you all, and information from the food chain on food safety hazards that may be of relevance for the food safety of the end products, intermediate products, and the food at consumption. So you might also have prior information on what stage in the food chain these hazards could be relevant, could happen, and where you need to focus upon in the food chain. This you can with experience and with known facts and historical data, all these details can be made available and can be used by the organization. So when identifying these hazards, what all, very simple to consider a few points when you're going to identify these hazards. So the steps preceding and following the specified operation. So at that particular operational point, what are the steps before and after which could be affected? The process equipment, utility services and surroundings that are there. So what the equipment that are being used, the utility services and surroundings, are they going to affect, or are they going to be a part of or could it lead to some kind of hazard? The preceding following links in the food chain. Yes, very important. If you have seen our previous sessions, we have spoken about the food chain, and in the food chain, what kind of linkages are there for that particular process before and maybe even after, which could have a potential hazard, and how you can identify it at that particular stage itself. So once the steps at which these food safety hazards are introduced, they shall be indicated. In short, one must be able to pinpoint and identify at the stages and the steps that what kind of hazard is present over there, and it should be marked. Moving ahead, for each of the food safety hazards identified, the acceptable level of food safety hazard in the end product shall be determined whenever possible. So any hazard that is present in the food, any hazard, it has to be acceptable level. So basically acceptable level is making the food safe. In short, you have to ensure that the food is safe as an end product. When it reaches the consumer, there should be no hazard present, or if it is there, it has to be at an acceptable level which is predetermined already, right? Then the determined level shall take into account established statutory and regulatory requirements, customer food safety requirements, and intended use by the customer and other relevant data. So again, if there is any norms, guidelines that is already prescribed, one has to follow it to ensure that the hazard is either eliminated or brought down to minimum. If any particular food safety requirements is already present, please utilize that into the system. So it makes your job easier. You need not do much of R&D into it. You already know this has to be done for that particular product, so that the intended use of the customer is defined. The justification for the result of the determination shall be recorded. So whatever earlier you have decided, based on that you need to put it down on paper, that this is the reason, or these are the facts, these are the norms, or this is why we have determined these levels, and this is the acceptable level of hazard or zero hazard if it is so. Moving on to hazard analysis. Now hazard analysis is done by the team, the food safety team. You might have someone already in charge for it. So this team conducts a hazard analysis and identifies appropriate control measures. So wherever they identify that there is a hazard at this particular step or stage or in the process, so they will start to identify control measures. They have to, you have to control the hazard, control or eliminate basically, so that it does not proceed further. The purpose of this analysis is to develop a list of hazards which are of such significance that they are reasonably likely to cause injury or illness if not effectively controlled. So why you need to do this analysis? So that you can prepare or jot down a list of what kind of hazards are present at these stages or different stages, and if this continues into the process, what will happen if it continues, or if it gets into food, or if it is consumed, what could happen, what kind of illness can it finally end up with, what kind of illness people can end up with. So that is why you need to list down the various hazards that could possibly be at different stages. The hazards that are not reasonably likely to occur would not require further consideration within an asset plan. So if there is any particular hazard which is at a very minuscule level and it is not going to have any kind of effect anytime anywhere, so this could you need not have any further action planned for such kind of hazard. It is important to consider in the analysis the ingredients and raw materials, each step in the process, product storage and distribution, and final preparation and use by consumers. So if you're seeing every stage, step is being covered in this, in the food production. If you see, all stages are involved, right from purchase of raw materials to step of processing, pre-processing, cooking, storage, distribution, consumption, everything. At every stage we need to consider and think of this, what kind of hazard could be there, and analysis needs to be done, identifying of hazards needs to be done, and one has to start preparing the what kind of action we are going to take, what kind of control measures we are going to adopt at these stages. When conducting this analysis, safety concerns must be differentiated from quality concerns. Yes, it's a thin line of difference over here, that hazard analysis is going to deal with the safety of the food, not with the quality of the food. So that difference has to be thought about, that this is going to deal entirely with the safety of the food, not the quality. The system would take care of your quality. So a hazard is defined as a biological, chemical or physical agent that is reasonably likely to cause illness or injury in the absence of its control. What does this mean? That if you are not going to control any of these types of hazard, these three types of hazard, basically we have already seen it earlier. So if you do not control this, if you allow this to proceed, it is likely to cause some kind of illness or injury to the consumer, unless you devise mechanisms, you devise control measures to control or eliminate these kind of hazards. A thorough hazard analysis is the key to preparing an effective hazard plan. So you have to prepare a good analysis, and it will be very effective in your hazard plan. So if this is not done correctly, and the hazard warranting control within the hazard system, they are not identified, the plan will not be effective regardless how well it is followed. However well you follow your plan, but if you're not able to correctly identify your hazard, correctly analyze, or put in the right kind of control measures to reduce or eliminate these kind of hazards, however well you follow your system, it is not going to be effective. You will have some issue or the other coming up at the end. So you have to have a very good analysis done of your system. Now, assessment of hazard. So we need to assess what kind of hazard is there. So a hazard assessment shall be conducted to determine for each food safety hazard identified. So in the earlier step, we saw that one step could have more than one hazard involved. Could be a biological and a physical hazard involved. So you need to have more control measures involved. So whether its elimination or reduction to acceptable level is essential to the production, or whether its control is needed to enable defined acceptable levels. So once you are able to identify that what kind of hazard is involved, and then you need to start determining what kind of control measures you're going to put into place, and whether these control measures are going to eliminate the hazard completely, or is it going to bring down the level entirely where it is acceptable. So each food safety hazard shall be evaluated according to the possibility or possible severity of adverse health effects and the likelihood of their occurrence. The methodology used shall be described, and the results of the food safety hazard assessment shall be recorded. So every food safety hazard that you check, that you're going to put control measures into place, they need to be checked, evaluated, whether my control measure, what I'm going to apply, is it going to control this hazard entirely or to acceptable level, whether this step will, if it is going to eliminate, is there any possibility of reoccurrence somewhere into my system. So whatever methodology you're going to adopt, you shall describe it properly with all the details, and maybe how you're going to assess the hazard, check the hazard at a later stage whether it is present or not, and this shall be put into records. Now a quick sample I'm going to just show. This is, I pulled up this small sample from the website. It's mentioned in the last where. So in a HACCP team, so if a HACCP team were to conduct a hazard analysis for production of frozen cooked beef patty. Okay, now leave that example 2 and 3 aside. So what does this have? So very simple terms, will not go much into the technical terms right now. So Salmonella and E. coli, this could be present in the raw meat. So this could be identified as a hazard. So this is a biological hazard that is present. And what kind of control measure is going to be exercised is cooking, right? So we know cooking is one very good control measure that can be adopted. So if you see in this particular table, so step 5, I have purposely put cooking there, but it's only step 5. So the hazard identified is Salmonella and E. coli, and justification that why this is the hazard. So it is known that these pathogens have been associated with outbreaks of foodborne illnesses from undercooked ground beef. So if it is not cooked properly, they are associated with illnesses that can lead to, basically they can lead to serious health issues for people who consume it. Whether this hazard has to be addressed in the plan? Yes, it has to be addressed in the plan. And what kind of control measure you're going to adopt is cooking. Yes, cooking. Further, you're going to set certain limits and time and temperature, everything will come into place. But this is just to make sure that first stage where you're going to analyze the hazard that is going to be present. All right. So selection and assessment control measure. So what is selection and assessment control measure? Based on the hazard assessment of the hazard, an appropriate combination of control measures shall be selected which is capable of preventing, eliminating or reducing these food safety hazards. So you can have more than one control measure planned. Okay, so not necessarily there is only a single measure. It could have a combination of more than one measures that could be really useful. In this selection, each of the control measures as described in the process shall be reviewed with respect to its effectiveness against the identified food safety hazard. What this means is you will review whether will this, by applying this particular control measure, am I going to successfully remove or eliminate the hazard completely? Is it going to work? And if it is going to work, how am I going to do it? It will be done, and you need to record and document this particular step. So to ensure that you're getting the right kind of outcome. The control measure measures selected shall be categorized as whether they need to be managed through OPRPs or by the HACCP plan. So OPRPs are operational prerequisite programs. So if your control measure is a part of your HACCP plan, well and good. If not, then you need to convert it as an operational prerequisite program wherein you jot down all the stages and steps that are going to be involved in controlling that particular hazard. The selection and categorization shall be carried out using a logical approach that includes assessment with regard to the following. So basically, you need to assess your hazards and your measures that you're using, whether its effect on the identified food safety is relative to the strictness applied. So how strict that particular measure is going to be, whether that measure is going to be easy to monitor. Okay, whether so the ability to monitor in a timely manner to enable immediate correction. So one must be able to monitor what kind of measures you have put in place. It should not be a tedious job. It should be you should be able to record these details in a timely manner or in a frequent manner. Its place in the system related to other control measures. There shall be other control measures also involved, and if you're using this, what is its place going to be within your own system, above or below, where it is going to actually fall into the system, the likelihood of failure in the functioning of a control measure or significant processing variability. Is there a chance that whatever control measure you're going to put in place, is there a chance that it could fail? And if it is going to fail, what is its consequence going to be? Okay, how it's going to deviate from your system, or what is going to happen if it fails? So you need to think of these points also. The severity of consequences in case of failure in its functioning. So till what extent the severity is going to be in case your control measure fails. Whether the control measure is specifically established and applied to eliminate us or significantly reduce the level of hazard. I think this is the point which we were discussing in the previous slide itself. And synergistic effects, whether interaction that occurs between two or more measures resulting in their combined effect being higher than the individual ones. So if you're going to have two or more control measures that are going to be utilized, so its effect in controlling the hazard is much better than a single one. So this can be demonstrated or checked once you have your control measures in place. Further, these control measures categorized as belonging to the HACCP plan shall be implemented in accordance with the HACCP plan. So whatever you are going to identify, they will be put into your HACCP plan, and other control measures shall be implemented as operational prerequisite programs. So as I just told a couple of slides earlier, so if it is if it is going to fit or categorize in the HACCP plan, you put it there, else you prepare a operational prerequisite program. The methodology and parameters used for these categorizations, they shall be described in the documents, and the results of assessment shall be recorded. So basically you need to document the process that you're going to follow, and whatever kind of records that you're going to monitor and verify, you need to put it down so that you can validate your process. Establishing operational prerequisite programs. So the operational prerequisite program, they shall be documented, and what these shall include: food safety hazard that is going to be controlled by the program. So what kind of hazard is going to be controlled? What kind of control measures you're going to adopt to ensure that you're controlling the hazard? What kind of monitoring procedures that you're going to have, and that will demonstrate whether your prerequisite program is implemented in the right way Are you yielding the right kind of results that you are expecting from that particular process? What kind of corrections and corrective actions that will be taken if monitoring when there is loss of control of your process. Okay, so if there is somewhere there is going to there's some deviation is going to happen, so what kind of corrections and corrective actions that are going to be taken, and then these also need to be recorded properly. What kind of responsibilities and authorities is going to be played, so who's going to be having what kind of authorities and what responsibilities are going to be held up by the team members. And also you need to have the records of all your monitoring, so this will be like an evidence for your operations. So with this we come to end of this particular session. I thank you all for watching my session patiently. These are the references that were used for this particular session. Once again, thank you all. Students of AI SSMS College of Hotel Management and Catering Technology need to click on the link given below in the description and attempt the quiz. Once again, thank you all and happy learning.